Hello, it's Michael here from the Village Optician, and today I wanted to talk to you about watery eyes. In fact, one really specific type of watery eye, and it's the one that really surprises people and confuses people because it tends to sort of on first glance make no sense whatsoever. What I'm talking about is those eyes that start to run, they start to water. Through the day you might be doing something specific, you may be reading a book and your eyes start to water and go blurred after say 10 minutes, 15 minutes. You might be driving in the car and you start to get really sort of watery eyes and they can blur, they start to run again after say 15 minutes, half an hour or something of driving. Or you go out in the wind, go out in the cold or the wind and your eyes start to run, they really start to water. Now the strange thing about that is, and especially when we have a good look at people's eyes and investigate that, is, and this is the bit that's really hard to get your head around, the reason for the watering is because you have a form of dry eye. Now, as I say, it's very specific. There's other types of watery eyes, things like that. You can get it with certain infections, with allergies, even with a blocked tear drainage duct, but that would literally be watering constantly. That would be all the time. So this is in certain circumstances. The eye can feel quite sore sometimes, quite gritty sometimes, or just like running in certain circumstances. And as I say, when it starts to run, the eye becomes blurred. You have to kind of blink to kind of clear things like that, but as I say, it's weird. It's actually because the eye's gone dry. Now I'll explain why it happens. To put it very simply, the tears are made of three main parts. First of all, you've got this sticky layer which sticks the tears onto your eye. You've got a middle watery layer, okay, and then you've got a top third waxy layer. Now the waxy bit stops the tears from evaporating. The sticky bottom layer sticks them to your eye, and the middle layer helps the oxygen and things move through, and it protects the tears from foreign bodies and invaders and bacteria, etc., stuff like that. So the weird thing is, if your eye is becoming dry, it's usually down to you not making the waxy part and the sticky part. Now those bits are made in little ducts and glands in the eyelids themselves, and they are secreted out of the eyelids. Now these are the bits that can go wrong quite easily. It's actually called meibomian gland dysfunction, and it is a very common problem. It affects people, they get blepharitis, dry eye, and all kinds of stuff going on there. So you're not making those two bits properly. It can kind of go a bit wrong there. So if you're not making those properly, the eye can dry out much more easily. The tears aren't sticking in the eye very well. And so if you're in a certain circumstance like reading, for example, and you're reading a book and then it starts to, your eyes just start to water after 10 minutes, 15 minutes, what's happened is your eye is fed back to your brain and gone, the eye's gone dry, what are we going to do about it? We need to do something. Now you have a little reservoir of the watery bit of the tears kind of up here above your eye. You've got this little tiny reservoir of the water, and so it releases the water into your eye, but there's no sticky bit and there's no waxy bit to protect it, so it doesn't stick to your eye, it just runs. So you end up with your tears running down your face and not staying in your eye. So you actually do have a dry eye, which, as I say, it's very difficult to get your head around that, because if your eyes are watering, you think, well, they're not watering, they're wet. Look, the eyes are very wet. But actually, if you think about it, the tears aren't sticking in your eye. The eye is being left dry, and the tears are running, streaming down your face. So that is one of the most weird forms of watery eye, because it's actually down to having dry eye. Very easily treated most of the time with artificial teardrops. Different sort of grades of artificial teardrop that you can get. Usually dry eye is an ongoing thing. It's something that's there. It doesn't sort of go away after a week of treatment like an infection would. It's probably something that's going to be long term. So we highly recommend artificial teardrops that don't have any preservative in them. You're usually looking around about the £15 mark for a good bottle of artificial tears. Now these good bottles can last you up to 3 months, whereas the more basic, cheaper ones are about £6 a bottle. They've got preservative in, and you've got to throw them away after 28 days. So they're a bit of a false economy anyway. So, of course, if you're having any of these symptoms, any of these problems, get yourself booked in with your optometrist, get an eye test done, get an eye check done, have your tears looked at properly, and then they can probably work out a little plan to help you reduce that wateriness, because it doesn't solve it all the time, but can reduce that. Some people, they use the artificial teardrops and it does go away. Some people may need tear gels, a bit thicker, things like that, but every case is different, every case is individual. So hopefully that helps you if you have watery eyes, and that explains a little bit about what's going on. Bye.